So at this point, what can we cancel? 2's, right?
Yeah.
And now can we start plugging things in? Yes. Which ones do we know? So we had x. What's the 240, right?
Yeah.
Plus what's y? 1 times dy. Well, what is dy dt? It's 0 equals z times what? dz dt. So which one are we trying to solve for? Let's highlight it. Which one are we trying to solve for? So we need to get values for all the other ones. So x and what? Z. So we know that's 1, and therefore it's after 30 seconds. How far has it gone after 30 seconds? How far has the plane gone after 30 seconds? You don't need a calculator to do it, everybody. 2 miles. Thank you. You know it's going 2 miles, right? Yeah, exactly. Right. How'd you get that?
It's per hour.
Seconds. Yeah. So divide. In 1 hour, it's going 240 miles an hour. Go 60. So 2 seconds. Yeah. There it is. 2. So therefore, if 1, what's z going to be? The square root of what? 5. The square root of 5. 1 squared plus 2 squared. So what do you plug in here? So now you know that x is what? 2 times 240 equals what z? Root 5 times dz dt. So the exact answer to this that I would need to see would be dz dt is equal to 480 over root 5. That's what I would like to see right there. And what would the units be on that? Correct. Good job. You need to always go back to the form. What are the 2 words? Know and want. So we need to label some variables here. So let's call this, what we need to put some variables in. What variables do we need to label here?
A, B, and C.
Yeah, we could call this like A, B, and C. Is that okay? So what do we know? We know dA dt is what?
Negative 600.
Negative 600. Why is it negative? It's getting closer to P. A is getting smaller, right? And what else do we know? We know one other thing. Come on, we know a couple other things.
We know dB dt equals 1200 or negative 1200.
Exactly. dB dt is negative 1200. Do you agree with that?
Should we put A across from?
It doesn't matter where we put it. I mean, in this case, yes, because the way they structured this right here, but like ignore that. You guys need to memorize that. So it doesn't matter what order they put them in. We can always rewrite the equation. Okay, so based on what we decided A, B, and C were, but you're absolutely right. Based on that equation, we need to put A there, but we're not going to. So what do we want? What are we looking for?
DC.
We want dc dt when what?
A is 2 and B is 4.
Yes. Are we okay with it? That's those statements right there. So it tells us we need to use the law of cosines because we need to relate the 3 lengths of a triangle that is not a right triangle. So that's going to be, in this case, c squared equals what?
B squared
Plus b squared minus
2ab
cosine of c, right? So what do we do now? So we have our equation. We do not plug anything in yet. I want you to do what first? Differentiate. So what are you going to get? Chris, tell me.
2c.
Yeah, let me get bigger. So you get 2c times
dc or
dt equals
2a
2a dA dt
plus 2b
plus 2b dB dt, right?
Yeah.
And then what do you have to use on this?
Product.
You have to use the product rule. There is one thing, there's definitely a constant in here. Which one do you want to actually use right here? Like what can you treat as a constant here? The 2 and the what? Cosine c. The 2 and the cosine c. That's 120 degrees. So you can just park the 2 cosine 120 degrees right here. And then what do you have to multiply by? Yeah, the product rule in a times b. So what's that going to be? Yeah, dA dt times b plus what?
Plus a
Times.
dB dt.
Exactly. Exactly. So which one are we trying to solve for, by the way? Which one do we want?
dc.
We want dc dt, right? We want this one. So we're going to need to plug in values for everything else. First of all, what could we cancel in all of this? The 2's go away, right? The 2's go away. What is cosine of, what's cosine of 120 degrees? What is it?
-1.
Yeah, you sure? You're positive? Okay, sounds good. Just making sure. Are there other things we can plug in? We know what dA dt is. What's dA dt?
Is that 1,000?
dA in this case was the negative 600, right? So I think it's going to be negative 600 And we have b, and then it's plus a times, what's db dt? Negative what? 200, right? And it's when what? When a is 2 and b is 4, right? So this is 4 and this is what? 2. So we've done all of those. Oh wait, 2. Oh, what's this one going to be? B and db dt? What was b again? B is what? 4. And what's db dt? Negative 2. B db. Oh, negative. Thank you.
You wrote B again.
Thank you. Yeah. So b is 4. In other words, negative 1200, right? And then what's this one going to be? Then we have a and what? dA dt? So what's that? 2 and? Negative 600, right? And then we have c times what? dc dt. So do we have almost everything we need? We have almost everything we need. We have only numbers on the left, so we want this. What are we going to have to find? We're going to have to find c. And what triangle do we have? 2, 4, and what? 120 degrees. You have to be able to find what that side length is. You have to be able to find what that side length is. What rule do you have to use to find that side length? Sines. So you know that c squared is going to be what? 2 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 times 4 times cosine of 120 degrees, right? So c squared is going to be 4 plus 16 minus 8 times what? So it's negative a half, right? So that's going to be 20 plus what? 4, which is? So c is going to be the square root of? So this goes right up there. So what is our answer? Well, we know dc dt is going to equal this right here, right? Divided by what? Root 24. Oh, did I do something wrong here? Maybe. Let's see. Good catch. Okay, 28, and what's this one going to be? 28. So what you need, if you're going to get a decimal, do you need a calculator? Honestly, I'm more anxious about trying to type that into my calculator. Like, I'm not kidding. Like everything else, I'm like, I can break that down, but like, oh, I'm going to miss a negative, and it's going to be off. It's just going to be off. So you're asking, where's it draining from? Anybody want to answer that? Where's it draining from? Yeah, David.
From the cone.
From where? Yeah, from where in the cone? The bottom. It's just draining out the bottom. Yeah, it's just going out the
I thought
bottom.
it was like draining from something.
No. Now you have to differentiate, right? Just to help you guys out here, you must use the product rule. This is just a constant, right? So dv dt is going to be equal to 1/3 pi times the derivative of this thing. You need to use the product rule. The product rule on that. So it's going to be 2r dr dt times what? H plus what? R squared dh dt. Now finish it, everybody. You just had to use the... Did you get to a wall? Yeah, so when you plug things in, what was dv dt? Negative what? Negative 2 equals, okay, not 2 equal signs. You get 1/3 pi, and you're like, hey, I'm cruising along here. 2 times, when r was what? What was to say? R was going to be what? 4. So 2 times 4 times dr dt times, what was at height of what? You sure? When the water level is 8. When the water level is 8. Hold on, let me finish this statement and then we'll get to it. And then what's the r again? 4 squared dh dt. What was the stopping point here? What was the challenge? What are you trying to solve for here? Like, what do you want? You want dh dt. Some of you called it y. But you need one thing in there. What's the only thing we haven't plugged in yet that we don't? Do you understand why we're at a stopping point here? There's no dr dt here yet. Do you understand? Everybody's with me? Okay. So what was your question, Noah? That we want it when what we call this h. So when that's true, what does r equal when h is 8? 2. So this 2, where should that go? Not dr dt. It goes in for r. Yep. Right there. Are we okay now? But the thing we need now is what? We need that blue thing. We need dr dt. We need dr dt. So if we want to know two different things, we might want to get a relationship between the two. Do you see triangles? Do you see triangles? Do you see triangles? So this was h, right? And this is, and the r values are right here. Does everybody see what I'm talking about right here? If this is h? So What's the relationship between h and r in this? How did you know that you said it was 2 instead of 4, right? Ah, there's that 1/2 relationship in there. How do you turn the height into the radius? Close. How do you turn the height into the radius? Well, when the height is 16, what's the radius?
4. Not by 4.
When the height is 8, what's this?
8.
Oh, 8 over 2, right? So this is h, and this is what?
Wait, how do we know y is z?
What?
In the equation it says what y is.
Look, it tells us. It tells us. Look, when this is, it's telling us 16 and 4, right? So when the height is, so and then therefore, if it's 16 and 4, when this is 8, what does this have to be? It's the same ratio the entire time. So what's the ratio between the height and the radius? H over to r is what?
1/2.
No. H over r is what?
4 over 2.
16 over 4 is what? 4. Some of you were saying 4. Some of you were saying many different numbers. The height over the radius is 4. So what does h equal? 4r, yes. Everybody with me on here?
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you understand where h equals 4r comes from. The height is 4 times the radius. Do you understand where that comes from? Raise your hand if you understand it. If you don't, you need to ask why.
Just this problem.
Just in this one, in this specific cone right here. In this cone.
Know where we got 8.
Everybody with me so far? 8. It tells us that's when we want it, Arvin, right here. It says we want it at a depth of 8.
Okay.
But the point is, h over r is 4, so therefore h is 4. Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with this? If I differentiate both sides with respect to t, what do I get? If I differentiate both sides with respect to t, what's the left side become? Of this, yeah. dh dt is equal to what? Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
So what does dr dt equal? Basic algebra, kids.
So dh dt
Divided by 4. So 1/4 of what?
dh dt.
dh dt. So what can we now use? Where can we plug this in? Where can we take this? Yeah, over here. This kind of goes all the way over here. So now what do we have? -2 is equal to 1/3 pi times 2 times 2 times what? 1/4 dh dt, right? Times 8 plus 4 squared times dh dt. And before we isolate, can we break this down a whole lot? Yeah, what do we end up with? This goes away, right? Like that, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
4 and 4, so -2 equals 1/3 pi times what? 8 dh dt plus what? 16 dh dt. What can we factor out of this? dh dt, right? So what do you end up with? dh dt times 1/3 pi, like this, times 8 plus 16. What's 8 plus 16? So this turns into what? 24. What's 24 divided by 3? So we have dh dt times 8 pi. So what's dh dt going to be? -2 over. So that's going to be -1/4 pi. Done. This is challenging because it adds in one new element. What's the only new element? Up on the board, what's the only new element? The substitution where you have to figure out a different rate to find out the rate you want.
How did we get from 4 to 1/4 there? I'm sorry.
We divided both sides by 4. Okay, put everything away except a pencil and a calculator.